So Bhai, if you start doing our jobs, where does that leave us? I'll have to start making smartphones next. I know you think that the Nothing Phone 2A is the best mid-range smartphone under rupees 25,000, but I think you missed a beat somewhere out there. You know what? The audience that is looking to buy the Nothing Phone 2A would probably be looking at the OnePlus Nord CE3, of course, which is one of its most important competitors, and the Moto Edge 40 Neo as well. And the reason for this is because these are the three of the best phones with the cleanest Android software implementations under 25. And I am going to try to solve that exact confusion in this problem. Should you buy the Phone 2A? Should you buy the Nord CE3? Or should you go for the Edge 40 Neo? If you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ershad. You're watching Trakin English, your destination for detailed, incisive gadget reviews. You know what? In our comparisons, until now, we've never done an unboxing experience comparison, but I think that is also very important and Carl did it too, so we're going to do that as well. Now, with the Phone 2A, you get a really nice unboxing experience with sustainable packaging as well and no use of plastic anywhere. But you know what? With Flipkart's open box delivery, you won't be able to experience that either, unfortunately. And inside the box, there is bare minimum that is available. You get the phone, you get a few documents, and you get the SIM card tool. That's about it. In comparison, the Nord CE3's box is filled with accessories. You get the case, you get that 80-watt charger inside the box, you get the cable, you also get the SIM card tool and a few really nice stickers as well. And you know what? The Edge 40 Neo also takes the sustainable narrative by giving you sustainable packaging because of course it doesn't use plastic anywhere. In fact, even the wrap that holds the phone is made of paper. And you also get extras like the case inside the box, a really nice case mind you. You get the SIM card tool, you also get the charger and the cable as well. So overall, with respect to unboxing experience, Moto Edge 40 Neo scores 9 out of 10, Nord CE3 scores 8 out of 10, and Phone 2A scores 7 out of 10 for me. In this price range, trust me Carl, the accessories do matter. Now let's talk about the design and build quality, and the Phone 2A is a gorgeous design despite the fact that it uses plastic. But it's got that see-through transparent plastic with glyph lighting which is done minimally, and it's a much better implementation compared to the Phone 1 and the Phone 2 as well. I also like the design of the camera module which looks like a set of eyes. The Phone 2 is definitely the heaviest of the three though. It's not very heavy, it's not tipping the scales over 200 grams, it's still under 200 grams, so that's okay. Apart from that, you also get Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protection, IP54 rating, the Type-C port at the bottom is Type-C 2.0, and the SIM card tray accepts dual nano SIM cards. Now talking about the Nord CE3, it also has a plastic bag and the design does look good, but definitely not as good as the Phone 2A. Subjective, but that's my opinion. It's definitely a lighter phone than the Phone 2A though, so that's something you have to keep in mind. Now you also get IP54 rating, and for glass protection, you get the Dragon Trail glass, if I'm not entirely wrong, which of course is not as good as Corning Gorilla Glass 5. But OnePlus does give you a lot of extras. Now the alert slider is definitely missing, which apparently is making a comeback with the CE4, so fingers crossed. But with the OnePlus Nord CE3, you get a memory card slot and you also get an infrared blaster, which is not available in the other two phones. So OnePlus makes up for the use of plastic with really good functional elements. The Edge 40 Neo is a beautiful looking phone. It's the slimmest and lightest of all the three. It's got a curved back and a curved front, and it sits very nicely in your hand. But of course, it's a slightly smaller phone compared to the other two. Now with the Edge 40 Neo, you get a vegan leather back and the colors look absolutely stunning. I really like it. The in-hand feel is fantastic on the phone. And that apart, the Edge 40 Neo is the only phone among these three that gives you IP68 rating as well. And on the front, you also get a Corning Gorilla Glass 3 protection, not as good as Gorilla Glass 5 on the Nothing Phone 2A, but still good enough. You get a Type-C 2.0 port and a dual nano SIM card support. Beyond that, you do not get any other functional elements. So overall, I'm not just looking at design in terms of aesthetics, but also in designs in terms of usability and functionality. And when you look at these phones in that light, I would give the Phone 2A and the Edge 40 Neo 8 on 10, but the Nord CE3 9 on 10 for giving you more functional aspects and that memory card slot. Now talking about the displays on the Phone 2A, you get a 6.67-inch AMOLED display with 120Hz refresh rate as well. You get HDR10 Plus as well, and you get HDR support on YouTube but not on Netflix. The C3's display is a very similar flat display, 6.7-inch AMOLED, 120Hz, HDR support. And finally, the Moto Edge 40 Neo is a slightly different display, primarily because it's a 6.55-inch OLED display, but it's a 144Hz refresh rate display, and you get HDR support on YouTube but not on Netflix. Now when we tested the displays out, the HDR grading on the Edge 40 Neo was the best, followed by the Nothing Phone 2A, followed by the Nord CE3, which was the worst of the three. Now when we check the brightness indoors, at least the Edge 40 Neo is brighter than the Nothing Phone 2A and of course the Nord CE3 as well. But when you take it outdoors, the Edge 40 Neo is definitely brighter than the Nothing Phone 2A and the Nord CE3. But when you compare the Nord CE3 and the Nothing Phone 2A, the Nord CE3 seems to be brighter than the Phone 2A. Also a part of the display is the haptic feedback or the vibration motor experience, and clearly the Nord CE3 is the best tuned of the three, followed by the Nothing Phone 2a and then the Edge 40 Neo. Now the speakers on the Edge 40 Neo and the Nord CE3 are almost equally good, very tight, very rich and pretty spatial as well, and they're definitely better than the Phone 2a. Take a listen to it for yourself and let me know what you guys think. So when you look at the display and multimedia experience, the Edge 40 Neo actually comes out on top for me. I'll give it a 9 on 10, whereas I'd give the Phone 2a and the Nord CE3 7 on 10. Now let's talk about performance, and inside the Phone 2a, you get the Dimensity 7200 Pro, which is basically just like a rebranded version of the Dimensity 7200. On the Nord CE3, you get the Snapdragon 782G, and the Moto has the Dimensity 7030, which is the weakest of the lot. And with respect to RAM and ROM type variants, you get LPDDR4X RAM and UFS 2.2 on Phone 2a and the Edge 40 Neo, whereas Nord gives you LPDDR4X and UFS 3.1. Now we started off with the synthetic benchmarks, and in Antutu, the Nord CE3 came up first, followed by Nothing, followed by Motorola, which is pretty interesting because I expected the Phone 2a to score above 7 lakhs, but it never did in our testing. Now we also ran the CPU throttle test, and the Nord CE3 is super impressive. Absolutely no throttling detected, whereas both the Phone 2a and the Edge 40 Neo throttled to about 83% CPU stability, which is good enough. 3D Mark wireless test stability scores were very similar on all three, but evidently the GPU inside the Nothing Phone 2a is more powerful compared to the Nord CE3 and the Edge 40 Neo, because the Phone 2a reached 30 FPS compared to 21 FPS on the Nord CE3 and 19 FPS on the Edge 40 Neo. We also tried BGMI. All the three phones can run the game at 60 FPS at smooth graphics. That's not a problem. But in Call of Duty during our testing, we noticed that the Edge 40 Neo and the Nothing Phone 2a can actually play at 90 FPS at low graphics. And when you switch it to very high graphics, you have to bump it down to very high frame rates. Now, the Nord CE3 cannot do 90 FPS, which is kind of odd because it should be able to ideally, but it ends up doing very high graphics at max frame rates, which is 60 FPS. And when we gamed on all the three phones, the Edge 40 Neo definitely got hotter than the other two. Neither of the three did throttle in real world gaming, so that's a good thing. So overall, with respect to performance, since the Phone 2a has a better GPU, which also will matter for better gaming performance in the future, I will give it a slightly better score. You'll get 8 out of 10 for the Phone 2a, 7 out of 10 for the Nord CE3, but kudos to OnePlus for going with the LPDDR4X UFS 3.1 storage, and I'll give it 6 out of 10 for the Edge 40 Neo. Now, talking about network performance, I actually did our network testing, basically call quality check on all the three phones. Absolutely no problem. All of these three have a fantastic speaker quality, basically earpiece quality, and the call quality is very good. And with respect to Wi-Fi support, you get Wi-Fi 6 support on all the three phones. With respect to Bluetooth support, you get Bluetooth 5.3 support on the Phone 2a and the Edge 40 Neo. The Nord CE3 has Bluetooth 5.2. Now, all the three phones do also come with NFC, so that's a good thing. But the distinguishing factor here is the support for 5G bands. Motorola gives you the maximum support for 5G bands with 15 5G band support. The Phone 2a gives you 13 5G band supports, whereas the Nord CE3 gives you 8 5G band support. Now, this is where I would have to give the Edge to Motorola, followed by Nothing, followed by OnePlus. So the Edge 40 Neo gets a 9 out of 10, Phone 2a gets 8 out of 10, and OnePlus will get 7 out of 10. With respect to battery performance, when we tested these phones out, the Phone 2a and the Nord CE3 will give you the best battery performance. Now, with respect to charging speeds, the Nord CE3 will come out on top with 80 watt charging speeds, followed by the Edge 40 Neo at 68 watt charging speeds. So it makes up for the lack of battery life with at least good charging speeds. Whereas, Nothing tops out at 45 watt and you do not even get the charger inside the box. But despite having a higher screen on time, overall with respect to the battery experience, which includes the charger inside the box and the charging speeds, all of that, I would have to give a lower score of 7 by 10 to Phone 2a, followed by the Nord CE3, which will get a 9 by 10, and the Edge 40 Neo will get 8 by 10. One area where I think the Phone 2a is a clear 10 on 10, and that is the software experience. Because you get Nothing OS 2.5 based on Android 14, plus Nothing is also promising 3 years of software updates, 4 years of security updates. The widgets are bloody awesome. And you can also have quick settings on the lock screen itself. Oh my god, such a game changer. Great job with the software experience. And Nothing has been really good and fast with software updates too. With respect to software experience, Nothing would come out on top. Followed by OnePlus, to which I will give 9, primarily because you get Oxygen OS 14 based on Android 14 now. So the Nord CE3 was launched last year. It came with Android 13, but the Android 14 update is already out. And Oxygen OS experience is also bloatware free. In fact, all the three are bloatware free, which is a very, very good thing about these three phones. phones. Now, Motorola, on the other hand, is still running Android 13. The Android 14 update is not here yet. Despite the fact that, Motorola has promised 2 years of software updates and 3 years of security updates, it's not here yet, and that is a bit of a disappointment for me. Despite that, I would say Motorola software experience is pretty good because you get Ready For, you get Moto Secure, and you get Moto Gestures, all of that. So Motorola has good software, but the update cycle hasn't been very good. And that's why Motorola would get a 7 on software from me and not the kind of high scores that OnePlus or Nothing got. Alright, now finally let's talk about the camera performance. I'm not getting into the spec details, let's jump right into the pictures. So the primary camera of the Phone 2a captures natural details compared to the over-sharpened look of the Nord CE3 and the Edge 40 Neo. Nothing's HDR algorithm is also the best. Highlights are well under control and the shadows are not too dark, and it pulls out a lot of details from the shadows as well. Nord CE3's HDR is the worst with really crushed shadows. Moto would be the second best here for me. Colors are the most accurate on the Nord CE3, but they are punchier and more attractive on the Phone 2a. The Edge 40 Neo completely bungles up the colors, whether you are using the natural colors or if you are using the auto colors. Now, when it comes to skin tones, none of these come close to neutral, but the Nothing Phone 2a is sort of alright. It tries to recreate the natural skin tone here, at least tries to come close. OnePlus makes the skin tone a little too warm, and Moto messes up every single color in this frame, as you can tell. But when it comes to portraits, the Nord CE3's algorithm is absolutely incredible. You get superb edge detection and a lovely bokeh drop-off. The Nothing Phone 2a would be my second favorite here, followed by the Edge 40 Neo at last. Now, moving on to low light samples, the Nothing algorithm is absolutely fantastic. It got the white balance perfectly accurate in this shot. You get excellent details up close. The noise is well under control too. The Nord CE3 would be my second pick here. It's almost equally good in terms of details, but there is some noise that you will have to live with. Moto is just very bad in comparison. Now, while the Nothing Phone 2a has an ultra wide, I can never, ever get it to focus. There is some problem with the focusing capabilities. And in that scenario, I would go with the consistent ultra wide shooter like the Nord CE3s. In fact, even the color sense consistency on the Nord CE3 with the primary camera is better. What about the Edge 40 Neo, you ask? Well, it's pretty average, as you can tell. Ultra-wide low-light again is the best on the Nord CE3, followed by the Phone 2a and the Edge 40 Neo. You get macro on the Edge 40 Neo and the Nord CE3 only, and between those two, I think the Nord CE3 would be my pick. Selfies are the best looking on the Nord CE3, followed by the Phone 2a and the Edge 40 Neo. That's true even for the selfie HDR, selfie portraits, and selfie low-light shots. Video recording is possible at 4K 30 FPS on all the three phones. Yep, you don't get 4K 60 FPS, primarily because there is no stabilization, which is a bit of a downer. Phone 2a is the best in terms of 4K 30 FPS video recording quality, followed by the Edge 40 Neo because of the stabilization issues on the Nord CE3, but I'm not a fan of the Edge 40 Neo's footage either, and the Nord CE3 comes in last.
This video is shot using the primary lens of the OnePlus Nord CE3, the Moto Edge 40 Neo, and the Nothing Phone 2a. Using the primary lens of the OnePlus Nord CE3, the Moto Edge 40 Neo, and the Nothing Phone 2a. This video is shot using the primary lens of the OnePlus Nord CE3, the Moto Edge 40 Neo, and the Nothing.
Same is true for the front camera video recording as well. You take a look at it for yourself and let me know what you guys think.
This video is shot using the front-facing camera of the Nothing Phone 2a, the OnePlus Nord CE3, and this is the selfie video sample shot using the OnePlus Nord CE3, the Moto Edge 40 Neo, and the Nothing Phone 2a. This is the selfie video sample shot using the OnePlus Nord CE3, the Moto Edge 40 Neo, and the Nothing Phone 2a.
Overall, when you look at the camera experience, I would say it's a bit of a tie between the Edge 40 Neo and the Nord CE3, primarily because the Nord CE3 gives you more versatility and it also does, camera performance better, but video performance is better on the Phone 2a. And the Edge 40 Neo would be my least favorite of the three in terms of camera performance. Phone 2a gets 8, the Nord CE3 gets 8, and the Edge 40 Neo gets 5. So the final tally, along with the value for money aspect added, basically price to what you get with it, you can see that we've given a 10 to the Phone 2a, the Nord CE3 also gets a 10, and of course, the Edge 40 Neo gets a 9. Now with that completed, the final tally is 73 for the Phone 2a, the Nord CE3 gets 74. And of course, the Edge 40 Neo gets 70, which means that the mid-range category under 25,000, under 30,000 is filled with superb phones. And consumers are spoiled for choice. Of course, these are not the best performing phones. You have phones like the Poco X6 Pro, which will give you better performance, but they will lack in camera and stuff like that. So these are overall balanced phones, especially phones like the Nord CE3 and the Nothing Phone 2a. Of course, the Nothing Phone 2a is a newer phone, so you will get longer software updates as well. So that definitely gives it a better advantage over the Nord CE3. But the Nord CE4 is just around the corner, and that could change equations. And I'm really looking forward to comparing the phone 2A to the CE phone, because that'll be a crazy battle as well. But in the end, if you ask me which phone would I pick, despite the Nord CE3 having won the entire comparison, I would pick the phone 2A, primarily because it's a newer phone. It looks very good. I like the glyph lighting uniqueness, and the software experience being a 10 on 10 is the icing on the cake for me. Now, which one would you pick? Let me know in the comment section below. And I must mention this, the Nord CE3 has been flying really under the radar. This is one of the best phones that we might have overlooked. Now, what do you guys think of this comparison? I think it was a lot of fun for me to do. I hope it was a lot of fun for you to watch as well. And would you like our future comparisons to be like this? Let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.